Let's say they say the United States has long supported Israel, who has committed crimes, blah, blah, blah. We want the American people to know that we will not tolerate their continued support for war where we live, and we will bring war to where you live, regardless of the outcome. And they take credit for it, and they explain how they did it. You would say...
I would say fortify the borders and make this country better. And let's not focus on putting 500,000 troops on the ground in some patch of desert. Let's focus on domestic oil.
I don't know that you would have to put 500,000 troops on the ground to be at war with that country.
But Halliburton builds all the barracks and stuff over there.
I'm not saying they wouldn't
Once you get
do
the military
invasion.
industrial complex.
I just think that's a really hard press. Like, dude, in a scenario where Iran or Russia or any other country admits to detonating a nuclear device in the United States, like, we're at war. Sorry, it's just like, I don't know how you get around that. That's
let's rewind and let's.
I think the probability of that is like 10 billion.
Well, let's use Afghanistan for example. Like I was in 6th grade on 9/11. That's largely the reason why I decided to study Arabic from a suburb right outside New York. But what did we achieve in 20 years in Afghanistan? So everybody was all for.
But Afghanistan
let's go get revenge.
Didn't do 9/11.
Well, that's a whole nother
right.
can of worms.
That's why I clarified.
And we trained the Mujahideen. Yeah.
And that's why I clarify the point. In the event where the leadership of the nation admits to it, gives a reason for doing it, explains what they did and why they did it, that's basically a declaration of war on us already. And what do we do? I mean, I'm not saying we invade their country.
The mission in Afghanistan should have stopped May 12th.
There shouldn't have been a mission in Afghanistan.
Well, all right. So that if that's your take, that's fine. As far as my opinion is, the day after they killed Osama bin Laden, the U.S. should have packed up and left.
He was in Pakistan.
I understand that. But the point being, the ostensible reason for being in Afghanistan was to find and kill or capture Osama bin Laden. Once that goal was achieved, I don't care where they found him. Once that goal was achieved, they should have packed everything up.
You know when they packed it up? They packed it up after fentanyl replaced opium as the opiate of the masses.
That is okay.
That is when and it was Vietnam before that.
That's fine. That you may be right, but my point is, you asked my opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion is after Osama bin Laden was killed, the U.S. should have packed up everything in Afghanistan and gone home. You asked the question. That's my answer. No, I'm not. Debating whether
I agree with that.
all the other stuff was right. Everything after the day that Osama bin Laden stopped breathing was too much, and it shouldn't have been done. At least if you're going to enter into a military action and you have a tangible goal, when that tangible goal is achieved, you end the military operation. And that's how you keep the support of your people, and you keep your people, you keep the faith that your people have in the government and military.
Yeah. And you take the military hardware back.
100%.
You don't leave the military hardware
Absolutely.
over there.
Absolutely.
And you don't abandon your Air Force base.
Yeah. I mean, it was all. Everything from the day after bin Laden died was an absolute travesty.
I went to the White House that night. That was a wild night. The night that it was
really
it was a party down there. And that just to go to show how much the White House has changed. That was in 2011, I think. I was up in a tree in front of the 6-foot fence right in front of the White House, and now that 6-foot fence is 20 feet, and you're not even allowed within 100 yards of those trees.
Whoa.
Yeah, the whole White House
is
is
20-foot fence?
It's insane. The new White House fence is wild.
It's since when?
Since it happened actually prior to all the BLM stuff, they were already under construction.
Really?
And it was completed in like 22. It's still being it's crazy. It's
I haven't
literally
driven past there in
triple
a long
the size.
time.
Yeah, it's huge.
We were in DC a couple months ago, like eating, and I just didn't go to the White House. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you can't really see much anymore. You can't get
graveyard.
closer than Lafayette Park.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I used to skateboard along that fence. It was a great time back in the glory days.
What about Russia? If Russia attacks a NATO ally, do you think we should get involved?
I think that we don't have a choice, unfortunately. That's part of why I'm kind of like the U.S. should get out of NATO. Or at least I think that we should, look at getting out.
At
least they pay their fair share.
I don't think we can get involved. I understand the reason for defense and show of force if we're attacked, and it's that clear cut, but I don't even trust the clear cut news these days. But our military industrial complex, once they get a taste of war, they don't stop, like what Phil said.
I'm for it. 100%. Actually, I want them to declare war now because I'm really excited to see Dean Withers and Harry Sisson deployed to the front lines. I am totally joking.
Yeah, Tim and I are aged out of the draft. Tim's like, yep, let's do it.
I'm going to be 39 in 3 months.
Yeah,
so,
they voted for that war,
Yeah. Well, I have no idea what Trump ends up doing. Look at Kash Patel. He's not a abolish the FBI guy. He's a get it back on track kind of guy. And I respect that. Even though I think the FBI has largely been bad for a long time, Kash is being fairly moderate. And I respect him. I think he's going to do a good job, and I'm happy to see it. But there's a reality in the Trump administration where Trump does go to war. I do not live in this world where I think anti-war means there will never be a war, and no matter what happens, the U.S. should never be involved, and we should ignore everything. That's ridiculous. I just think that what the U.S. calls war since the end of World War II has been intervention for the sake of empire or
nation
control.
building,
right?
Halliburton contracts,
and the petrodollar and maintaining the liberal economic order. In the event the United States was legitimately attacked, we have a duty to defend ourselves or to uphold our sovereignty. I'll put it this way. If we as a nation allowed Iran, Russia, or China to attack us directly, would say a dirty bomb, and then we were like, oh, I guess we'll just do nothing, we are going to get trampled over and we will get destroyed in quick, short order.
Look back to what the actual military action that Trump did take during his first term was, like Qasem Soleimani was a good example. I mean, that wasn't putting troops into Iran. It was just using cruise missiles to blow, or whatever it is that they used on him.
I think it was drones, wasn't it?
But
and Soleimani was in Iraq, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah. He was. Well, he was. And that's the point, is we brought democracy to a country that's 60% Shia that borders our biggest geopolitical adversary, which is Iran, which is Shia.
Democracy.
Yeah. And this is what my freshman year in high school, that's what my history teacher told us. He's like, I'm going to tell you guys why the Iraq war is the stupidest idea in the world in 30 seconds. And he did. And I was like, why is my freshman history class doing better than our entire State Department? What's going on here?
That is, look, conspiracy theories circulate because people want to believe that life is more interesting than it is. The news tends to be negative or worrisome because we have no need to focus on things that are good because it doesn't put us in jeopardy. If news breaks that a bunch of orphans finally got a home, it's not going to be the lead because it doesn't put you in danger.
If it bleeds, it leads.
But there's a reason why. Because you aren't worried about the safety of your family when you hear that that a stray dog was rescued and given to a home. Those videos do go viral because it's heartwarming. But news about potential war, conflict, crisis, drones leads because you are asking yourself, what could threaten me and my family, and what do I need to be? What do I need to do to be ready for it?
Yeah. And everything's been supercharged because it used to be that everybody would sit down and watch the nightly news, and they had this standard thing of, you have the lead story and then you end with a feel-good story. But now everybody's news feeds, and that's what I talk about in the book a lot, is how all of this stuff has been put on steroids based upon what gets surfaced on the algorithm and why. And the answer is a hate click is a lot more powerful than some kind of thought piece or anything that delves deeper than the most primal thing that's just going to engage your lizard brain.
And I'll tell you this, I think the right, as we would describe it today, is more resilient to this and the left is not. So what ends up happening is the right reacts to the left. The left starts saying things that like Trump is a fascist, Nazi, white supremacist. And then if you want to vote for him because you're concerned about the border, you too are a fascist, Nazi, white supremacist or a communist, Nazi, commu-fascist Nazi or whatever. Then people on the right are like, no, I'm not. You guys are crazy. The left entrenches themselves because they're susceptible to the rage clicks and the social pressures, and the right rejects it. And this is where you largely get components of the culture war.
Well, and definitely since the Trump era, the right was long, the conservatives who stick to their values. But you're right, it has largely become reactionary. And so I think there's a big question right now with the next Trump era is how much of that kind of, Trump said covfefe, the whole world's going to explode. Jeez. How much of that is because then when something actually does happen, everyone's just like, oh yeah, okay, here we go again. It's the same narrative. So I don't know. Will CNN do a more responsible job in reporting on the Trump White House?
They're going to keep staging events like what they did in Syria for irrelevance. Yeah, and fade out.
What was the most watched day in CNN's history?
Was it when they hologram Wolf Blitzer?
No, it was. I can give you one more guess. Come on, it's the most.
Was it when was it when Don Lemon said the MH370 was sent into a black hole?
Well, they went wall to wall. That
was a good one.
And Jeff Zucker has defended them going wall to wall on that.
He suggested a black hole swallowed the airplane on earth?
I actually kind of buy that.
And now we know. And now we know it's true, Tim. Yeah.
Okay, get what's
it was
true.
January 6th. and
wow.
they came out with a press release saying, bragging about our most watched day in history. So that just goes to tell you, what sells and what the news really wants to make money.
The next most highly viewed day for them will be when Trump pardons all the J6ers. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.